That was pretty cool, especially when we get kind of compared to the guys of the 82 class or whatever it was, Marino, Montana, Kelly, Elway, those guys. So, it's pretty neat. All three of us still playing, and they've had a lot of success. So it's cool to be a part of it.
All right, it of course is Ben's Day here on Steelers Live at 4 p.m. Ben Roethlisberger talking this morning about being in the same draft class with Eli Manning and upcoming opponent from the LA Chargers, Phillip Rivers. Joining me to talk about that draft class and much more for this segment is Craig Wolfley, who is back to a full participant. So glad to have Wolf back with us on the show.
Thank you so much. It's good to be back.
All right, so that is a special draft class. We have to admit that, especially with the level that we're seeing Ben playing this season and Phillip Rivers.
Well, no question about it. You think about these two guys putting superlative work for all these years. What is it, 15 years? Gadzooks, man. I mean, this is just really phenomenal. You look at their ability to compete back and forth and how they've really, they really illuminate each other's skills. Both these guys are just so excellent in their performances, but there is that 2 Super Bowls that separates one from the other, and that's why I think that's why Big Ben is the guy that you got to ride with.
All right, and we will be talking a lot more about Phillip Rivers as the week goes on, but it is Wednesday. The Steelers were back out at practice. They were actually indoors today, I should say. So let's take a look at the Steelers practice report for Wednesday. Stay with me here because there's a lot of names on this list, a lot to sort through, but we're going to get through this. All right, not practicing today due to injury. We'll stay focused on that. Marcus Gilbert with the knee, Vance McDonald hip injury, Bud Dupree with his pec injury, Morgan Burnett, a new name on this list with a back injury, and then BJ Finney for a personal reason. Coach's Day, we don't have to worry too much about this. Ben Roethlisberger and Marquise Pouncey. The good news being Stephon Tuitt returning to practice after missing the past 2 games. He was limited. Xavier Grimble, who was in the concussion protocol, is a full participant. So, woof. A lot going on here, but we'll start with Tuitt because that is somebody that the Steelers defense really wants back.
No question about it. Unfortunately, Steph was on a 3-game sack tear, and you want to get that mogenated right away coming back. But the fact is, Javon Hargrave has provided some great relief work, done some really good stuff in his absence. Again, one man's misfortune is another man's fortune, but it's fortunate to be able to get Steph back because he is just that good. He's going to really up that game. It's going to be good for that interior guys. And this is going to be a game that you want to get after Phil Rivers. You want to be able to make him throw out of the well. You want to be able to put him on the ground. They've not sacked him too awfully much. I mean, he's, at 19 sacks he's been thrown on the dirt. You got to get some more this week because this guy, Phil Rivers, is that serious, and Stephon Tuitt is a great addition.
All right, Coach was hopeful that Tuitt and Marcus Gilbert would be back at practice at some point this week. Of course, Marcus Gilbert, as I said, not practicing with that knee injury. But if there's a little bit of good news, Matt Filer is not on this practice report. And he was somebody that wasn't able to practice a lot last week, and then that's when we saw Chuks Okafor starting in Denver.
Yeah, I would think he's off the bench presses as well because of the kind of the pec injuries. But the thing about, Chuks came along, and I got to tell you something. I know that back in our day, when a young offensive lineman would make his first start and you'd get that win, man, there's nothing like giving him a game ball after the game. You go, everyone crowded. Now, you can't do that.
So close.
Didn't get the win, so close. But I got to tell you something. I was so impressed with this kid's work. For him to go out in that mile-high altitude with all that noise, with all those code words and everything else, and have one of the most feared pass rushers of this generation in Von Miller. No, he didn't do it alone. He had some help. You see James Conner right there. But I got to tell you, when you are out there and you have somebody that good, that terrific over you, and you come away with the job he did, the young man should be very, very pleased. It's a start. It's all it is an upward trending, but you know what? That's a great start. Good for Chuks. Game ball to him.
All right, and just a quick roster move in terms of practice to announce today. The Steelers announced that Eli Rogers was able to return to practice. He has been on the PUP, physically unable to perform list. So it's kind of similar to Ola Adeni, what the Steelers did last year. He returns to practice, then they have 21 days. Doesn't count towards the Steelers roster. They can either activate him to the 53-man roster, which means making a cut, or placing him on IR. So Ola and Eli allowed to return to practice, but so that's kind of how that goes. Just a little housekeeping to take care of. But it is Ben's Day, and there is a lot to get to. So first we're going to take a listen. His radio show on Tuesday, he called out some of his teammates, and today he was asked if that was warranted.
Well, being around for a long time, dealing with a lot of different players, I've you have to know how to motivate different guys in different ways, and I think that's part of being a leader, being a captain, just understanding players. And so sometimes you just grab them off to the side, and sometimes you have to be honest with them. And so I think that I've earned the right to be able to do that with as long as I've been here, and and I'll be just as critical on myself as well in front of you guys as well.
All right, and one of the people that he called out, made known during the radio show, Wolf, was James Washington for missing that catch, something he said he should have ran through. And I want to give James Washington credit. He was in the locker room after practice today. Of course, the media all wanted to talk to him and said, hey, look, I shouldn't have jumped. Ben is right. He is the captain. I listened to him. I need to fight through adversity. He said all the right things and seems to be, really obviously not liking that play and wanting to take it back. But it happened, not much you can do. So what do you think in terms of Ben maybe giving certain players on the team what they need at certain times?
Yes, yes, and yes. That's just the way it rolls in the locker room. When you're inside the locker room there, it's up to the big guys, the big dogs, to lead the way. Now, what you just saw was a great job by Ben. No, he's not killing James. He's not throwing him on the bus. He's calling him out in a way. Look, James is an Oklahoma kid. His dad is a tough rancher. He's out there slinging cattle and punching doggies and breaking broncs and everything, right? This kid has grown up on hard work. He understands, right? So what do you got? You got Ben going, no, you know what? It's like a little cattle prod. It's a zinger. I'm pushing the kid because I need the kid. And that's just what he's doing. It's okay. James is tough enough to get it. James is a tough guy. He understands that he's going to be needed in this last quarter of the season. He needs to up his production. Never fear. Ben he pushed the right buttons on this guy. This guy's a tough guy. He'll handle it easy.
I'm with you. I think anytime we've heard Ben maybe not criticize but call out teammates, I think he's doing it because he's trying to send a message, and maybe that's the way he does it. We saw it with Martavis Bryant. But in terms of James Conner having that fumble that obviously was not great on Sunday, Ben didn't really want to talk about that, said, no. Like, we have confidence in him. We need him. We're going to ride him. So maybe just a different technique depending on the guy.
No question about it. Look, you want to be who you are. It's like Ben with the interception. Sometimes over 15 years, your totals are going to vary a little. But you are who you are, and that is the gunslinger, okay? James Conner, you're a beast, okay? You don't suddenly try to retract what you do best. If you feel in your mojo at that moment, you got to leap, you leap, but you protect the ball. He knows that, and I'm sure those conversations are all happening. So I have no problems about it. Be who you are. Be that guy that brought you here. You just got to protect the ball at the right moment or make the catch and run through, whatever it is, but you got to up your game, and that's what they'll do.
All right, Wolf, thanks for joining me today. It is Ben's Day, and we have another exciting note to mention. Ben Roethlisberger was one of many players who were on hand to take part in the Steelers Social Justice Grant Program. It was introduced last week, and today, as you see, James Conner, Jesse James, there with Mel Blount. The team and players helped donate nearly $30,000 to the Mel Blount Youth Home. So very cool to see. And as we said, as these keep happening, we will keep bringing them to you because it's always good to end on a high note. We are going to take a quick break here on Steelers Live. When we return, Mike Pursuta joins me with his perspective.
You always have those good feelings after games, and then you lose one. But, it just maybe refocuses you, maybe get you back on track for what you need is that fourth quarter of the football season, playing your best football. And so that's what we need to do now is really start playing our best.
All right, so good feeling in Jacksonville, not so great feeling in Denver. A little inconsistent there. Some things to work on this week as the Steelers prepare for Sunday Night Football. Joining me to give his perspective on what needs to happen is Mike Pursuta. Hey, Mike.
Thanks, Missy. I'm not sure I can follow slinging cattle, but we'll give it a shot. It was different in Jacksonville. It came down to the final seconds again, just as it had in Jacksonville. But this time, the Steelers' offense didn't have an answer. What resonates most from a game that got away in Denver is this. That's not a test the Steelers can afford to fail. It doesn't always have to be that way, and it wouldn't have been that way last Sunday had the Steelers not spent so much of the first 3+ quarters seemingly refusing to put the Broncos away. But when you fumble at the goal line or on the cusp of the red zone, when the other team blocks a field goal, and when you throw an INT with the lead, all the fake field goals and 97-yard catch-and-run touchdowns become less impactful, if no less spectacular. Mix in over 100 rushing yards hemorrhaged, and all of a sudden, even a game you've been dominating becomes a struggle to the bitter end. The lesson from Jacksonville was supposed to be that the Steelers were capable of overcoming such circumstances. The lesson from Denver is the Steelers have to finish better when necessary. Yes, it's a lot to ask, but at the same time, ask yourself this. In today's climate, in today's game, would you rather be the team that's 3 yards away from a chance to tie it or a chance to win it with 1:57 left, or the team that's desperately trying to dig in and hold on and keep the other team out of the end zone? The Steelers' defense had done its part by getting a third down sack that got the ball back for the offense with plenty of time remaining to change the game. And for 7 plays and 53 yards, the offense appeared more than capable. But with a chance to erase the mistakes that had contributed to the very predicament the Steelers were trying to extricate themselves from in the first place, the offense instead delivered more of the same. A myriad of issues resulted in the third down interception that ended it, at least one more as it turned out, than the Steelers could overcome. You got to be better, guard David DeCastro lamented, better on the details. Are you ready for some football? The offense presumably will get a chance to be better given what's left on the schedule. That might yet be the difference between failure and success in December. What happens when the Steelers are confronted with having to beat the clock as well as the Saints, Patriots, and Chargers? They're built to rise to such occasions, and they still are, despite one that got away.
All right, Mike, thanks so much. And I guess my question for you, yes, you want to keep winning. They wanted to keep riding that winning streak, and it might sound cliche, but everyone was like, maybe we needed this. Maybe we needed a little bit of a wake-up call. Do you feel like that could be something that could help them, especially with this tough stretch coming down?
No question. I think a lot of things had been falling into place, and we had talked in this very segment last week about how that Jacksonville game might give them a boost that they could rely on. They could know, hey, in the back of your mind, it's tough, but we've gone through tough times before and gotten through them. Well, now they know that if they're not, it doesn't just happen. Just because you did it before doesn't mean you're going to do it again. You got to be on the details, and we could talk about any number of things that went wrong there at the very end. It wasn't one thing. The bottom line is the job didn't get done, and I think the way this team is built and the way the league is right now, that's the way it's going to have to get done more often than not.
All right, Mike, thanks so much for joining me. Stay right there. When we return, Labs joins us for Agree to Disagree. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. It is that time of the week. It is Agree to Disagree, Labs. The show with the motto.
I'm right. He's wrong.
All right, let's keep the small talk to a minimum today.
That
All
bell
right,
is irritating.
Statement number one.
We agree on that, right, Labs?
It drowns out your voices. Statement number one. The quarterback they face Sunday is the best one on their schedule. Pursuit, you're first.
I'm talking about Philip Whiskey Rivers, and he's certainly in the conversation, but I got to disagree. And no, I'm not talking about the GOAT, Tom Brady. I'm not talking about Drew, call me the Breeze. I'm certainly not talking about Blake Bortles. He's not even the best quarterback in Jacksonville anymore, according to Jacksonville. The guy who was and will remain the best quarterback on their schedule is Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs, the future of rock and roll, Bruce Springsteen. Nobody does it better. Nobody is going to do it better moving forward. And hopefully the Steelers will get a chance to do better against Patrick Mahomes than they did the first time. Philip Rivers, no offense, tremendous career, Hall of Fame career, playing at a very high level right now, but not the best, lad. There can only be one Bruce Springsteen.
Okay, I'm going to agree with the statement and disagree with you. Let's just start with the guy you picked. I understand that everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame, but when Patrick Mahomes does it for actually longer than 15 minutes, then he can be in this conversation we're having now. I would say that the second best quarterback on the Steelers schedule is Drew Brees, and the only reason I'm saying he's second as opposed to first is because Philip Rivers is a little bit younger, and you look at the statistics, he is right up there with Bruce Springsteen, or however you're referring to Patrick Mahomes, completing 25 passes in a row. And I also think you have to look at the kind of team that has been around Philip Rivers throughout his career. Let's look at A.J. Smith and Tom Tedesco as the GMs, Marty, Norv, and Mike McCoy as his head coaches. This guy has survived some pretty bad people above him, and Philip Rivers.
Good job, Labs.
Man.
All right.
You know,
I like that you listen to the
if
bell.
you would finish in a timely fashion, she wouldn't ring the bell.
It's true. I wouldn't have to use as much.
But see,
All right.
I'm so chock full of facts.
Statement number 2.
Full of
Hey, you
something.
only get a certain amount of time. Statement number 2. Joey Bosa is a bigger issue than Von Miller. Labs, you take this one first.
Joey who? I mean, seriously, I get the Big Ten connection, but absolutely not. I disagree with the statement. Joey Bosa is another one of those guys. Mike, you like these guys who flash in the pan 15 minutes. He hasn't even played a full NFL season yet. Von Miller is a guy who came into the game against the Steelers with 94 sacks in 115 career games. Von Miller is a first-team All-Pro. He is a guy capable of taking over games. Joey Bosa is a maybe. If you give me a choice right now between those two guys, I'll take Von Miller 10 times over. I might like Nick Bosa better than Joey Bosa. Baby brother.
Pursuta, I didn't even have to ring the bell, but you can go now.
Okay, I don't need a whole lot of time here. You must be looking at the Bosa who's not playing for The Ohio State University right now. Yeah, Von Miller's been doing it longer, but Joey Bosa since 2016 has played 30 games in the NFL. He has 25 sacks. He got 2 against the Cardinals last Sunday. He's back from his latest injury. He's got fresh legs. He is ready and raring to go.
You hear that, Missy?
And when he
The Ohio
comes
State
off
fight
that
song in the
edge, I'm
background.
telling
I can hear
you,
it.
if the Steelers single block him, they can count on second and long or fourth and punt. Joey Bosa, the new wave of edge rushers in the National Football League.
All right, Labs,
Who's
we get it.
Who's dotting the I? Pursuta?
Labs, we get it. All right, I'm going to give it to Pursuta this week, mainly for the first statement. I agree with him. Sorry, Labs. Pursuta is the winner of this week's edition of
It's a young man's game, Coach.
Bam.
That's why we don't play.
That is going to do it for this edition of Steelers Live. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back here
Springsteen isn't
tomorrow
young.
at 4 p.m. Have a great night, everybody.